Have you ever paused to consider what it would be like to live without certainty of tomorrow, without light, health, or rights? In 1800, existence was a daily struggle against hunger, illness, and an unforgiving reality. Yet what seems distant is, in fact, the foundation of who we are today. In today's video, we'll journey back to that grim past, where survival was an endless challenge, and explore how, despite it all, humanity never lost its ability to endure and dream. In 1800, life lacked the conveniences we now take for granted. Most people resided in simple villages, dwelling in homes crafted from mud, stone, and even tree branches. These humble shelters were more makeshift refuges than true homes, offering scant protection from the weather's harshness. The earthen floors mirrored the extreme poverty that defined the era. There was no comfort, no hint of privacy. Large, multi-generational families shared the same space and bed, facing the rigors of daily life together. Homes were dimly lit, with few windows lacking glass. Cold seeped through mud walls and rotting wood, making nights long and bitter. A starless sky offered no solace, as the only illumination came from tallow candles, costly and emitting a foul odor, a constant reminder of life's hardship. These candles, used for solemn moments, mirrored a world living in death's shadow, where survival trumped all comforts. Without electricity, night fell swiftly, forcing people to adapt to a new rhythm. Days began with the rooster's crow and ended with the last sunlight. No devices eased their burdens. Candles, scarce and precious, lit only the essentials, yet each flame symbolized a fight against darkness. Water, a vital resource, was also a luxury. Access wasn't easy as it is now. People trekked to wells or rivers to fetch it, a task often unsafe. Every drop was treasured, and heating water for a bath or meal demanded great effort. It was a world steeped in struggle, where even basics were won through relentless toil and daily survival. Work was the sole option. There was no choice, no rest. Life in the 19th century was a ceaseless battle to secure the bare minimum for survival. Age or gender didn't matter. Everyone was compelled to contribute to family or community welfare. Men tilled the soil with animal help, lacking the technology that now speeds such tasks. Women spent endless hours at the oven, sewing, tending the home and raising children. Every chore was grueling, leaving bodies perpetually exhausted. But the worst fate befell the children. Unlike the childhood we envision for our kids today, in the 19th century, being young meant being labor. They didn't play or enjoy leisure. Instead, they spent days shucking corn, tending chickens, cleaning chimneys, and, in extreme cases, were sent to mines where their small size aided digging in tight spaces. These kids had no protection, no rights, and were often treated with cruelty unimaginable by today's standards. No laws shielded them, and childhood was a brief, painful stretch of toil. The work system was strict and merciless. No guarantees, no minimum wage. If you didn't produce enough, you were replaced without hesitation. Craft masters guarded their positions while apprentices were treated as disposable tools. No labor rights existed, and workers often endured exhausting shifts in unhealthy conditions without support. Life at work was a daily war, the sole focus being maximum output to ensure survival. This relentless cycle of toil and fatigue formed the backbone of 19th century society. Rest was rare, a luxury few could afford. Physical and mental strain was constant, and the notion of free time was virtually non-existent. Merely surviving was an achievement, and each life was shaped by the pressure to keep working for the next day. In the 19th century, freedom was a privilege for the few. Most lived in a rigidly structured society where individual rights, as we know them, didn't exist. For women, reality was even harsher. They were seen as voiceless, lacking personal agency. Legally, they were considered their husband's property, with no control over their own lives. The idea of female consent was absent, and they lived under a patriarchal, oppressive system. Dowry was one of the few rights they held, but it offered no liberty. Instead, it was a burden, a social demand for marriage. Without it, years of legal disputes often followed. Men, too, were far from truly free. Though they held more rights, their lives were equally bound by strict social and economic norms. Most depended on land or nobility, and social mobility was nearly impossible. Born poor, you likely died poor. Education was a privilege denied to most. If you were a worker, your existence was confined to fields, factories, or workshops. The dream of a better life or prosperous future often remained just that, a fantasy. Education, when available, was a costly privilege. Few had access to knowledge, and most people were illiterate. Learning to read and write was a rare feat, especially in remote areas where formal schooling was virtually absent. In the few places with schools, they were basic, offering limited instruction, often delivered by priests or local teachers who used religion as a social control tool. The Bible was one of the few books families owned, and a home with it was deemed cultured. Other works, like Don Quixote, were as expensive as today's iPhones and read only by the wealthy or privileged. Access to education, culture, and even dignity was restricted to an elite, while most scraped by with the minimum to endure. The notion of equal rights, or a life free from oppression, was a distant dream, unattainable for those trapped in the 19th century's harsh reality. Health in the 19th century was a grim domain, often a survival game against unseen foes. Diseases were numerous, and remedies were scarce, ineffective, or even harmful. Medicine, still in its infancy, lacked the scientific breakthroughs we now assume. No vaccines, antibiotics, or effective treatments existed for common infections. People were at the mercy of illnesses like yellow fever, cholera, and smallpox, which decimated entire families without mercy. Hospitals offered little relief. Doctors lacked basic hygiene knowledge, and surgeons operated with unwashed hands and unsterilized tools. Bloodletting, the practice of draining patients' blood to balance bodily humors, was common. Anesthesia was unknown, and surgeries were performed on conscious patients without pain relief. Imagine the despair of undergoing an operation under such conditions, knowing survival odds were slim, suffering was constant, and 3 in 10 children died before age 5. This was seen as normal then. Early child mortality didn't spark the shock or empathy we'd feel today, as people were so accustomed to premature death that it became part of life's cycle. Families, immersed in the fight to survive, couldn't afford to grieve as we do now. Losing a child was expected, not unusual. Doctors, when present, were often more clueless than skilled. Their knowledge relied on herbal recipes, experimental treatments, and healing practices that usually did more harm than good. The few medicines available were expensive and rare, and apothecaries were known for homemade remedies and elixirs promising miracles but rarely delivering. Health in the 19th century was a perpetual battle, where luck and human resilience were the greatest defenses against death. For many, illness was a death sentence, and hope for recovery a distant illusion. Yet, amid such pain and hardship, something kept people united and offered solace to their spirits: traditions, religion, and, above all, the human capacity to find joy even in the bleakest circumstances. Festivals, dances, and celebrations provided essential relief amid suffering. Fairs, pilgrimages, and outdoor dances were moments of connection, where, for a brief time, people could set aside worries and indulge in a good dance or the joy of music from marimbas and flutes. Carousels, folk theater, and street performances were escapes, allowing body and mind a few hours' respite from daily struggles. But joy wasn't just from entertainment. Religion, ever present, played a central role in everyone's life. Churches weren't merely worship sites, but community hubs where people gathered to pray, seek comfort, and explain the unexplainable. Faith anchored many families, a pillar of hope in times of distress. Prayers and rituals offered solace and a way to connect with something greater, giving meaning to life in a world of constant adversity. Fear mingled with faith and superstition. Eclipses, comets, and mysterious diseases were phenomena no one could explain. Science was nascent, and superstition filled knowledge gaps. In many homes, a breviary sat beside an amulet. A prayer might ward off evil, while an amulet protected against impending doom. This blend of belief, superstition, and emerging science shaped popular imagination. Despite daily brutality, these light moments were vital. The ability to celebrate life, even when it seemed short and fragile, was a quiet resistance, a way to confront immense difficulties. Ultimately, life was built on hard labor, suffering, but also on moments that warmed the heart and gave purpose to existence. Today, we live in a vastly different world, where comfort and technology have transformed how we experience life. We have electric light, abundant clean water, free education, advanced medicine, and distances shrunk by planes and the internet. But looking back, it's hard not to see that the same core challenges of the 19th century still linger. Health, education, and equity remain issues that test us despite progress. In many regions, the fight for accessible healthcare persists. Education, meant as a universal right, bars millions of children and adults. Social inequality endures, often unseen but ever present, widening gaps between rich and poor. In the 19th century, life hinged on survival, a relentless quest for basics. Today, tools have evolved, but the struggle remains. Now, the battle isn't just for food and shelter, but for opportunities and equality. We who benefit from technology and medicine bear a responsibility to ensure past challenges don't fade into memory. We can't ignore that millions worldwide still live as in 1800. The difference is, we now have the tools and knowledge to change this. The question is, what will we do with them? The will to shape the present, to ensure future generations thrive, defines our ability to progress. The past teaches resilience, the fight to endure. It reminds us that even in the toughest times, humanity found ways to persist and evolve, but also warns, challenges may shift form, but they don't vanish. True change only comes when we tackle these issues with the same strength and resolve as our ancestors, using today's resources to build a fairer, more equitable future for all. Reflecting on the past is often the key to understanding the present. The 19th century, with its immense hardships and daily battles, wasn't just a time of suffering, but of learning. From it sprang the foundations for many gains we now see as normal. Collective effort, human endurance, the pursuit of survival, and most importantly, the ability to find joy in the darkest hours shaped us. But looking back, we must also recognize that, despite our advances, we can't lose sight of the core values this past imparts. The world of 1800 left us a powerful legacy, and it's our duty to use today's tools to address current challenges. The fight for a more just and equal society, one that truly honors everyone's dignity, can't be delayed. As a society, we must continue this struggle, ensuring real progress reaches all and past lessons aren't forgotten. So, next time you're frustrated by a slow connection or a bad coffee, remember a time when everything was slow and tough. A time when even life's simplest things were a daily fight, yet humanity found ways to press on, to make life worthwhile. Thinking of present difficulties, recall that underlying challenges remain the same. What changes isn't the obstacles, but our power to overcome them. With this in mind, we can face the future with greater wisdom, patience, and, above all, a readiness to make our world better. The past still has much to teach us. It shows how far we've come, yet challenges us to go further. Ultimately, what defines our story isn't just moments of pain, but our ability to turn those moments into lessons for a brighter tomorrow.